Aloha mai kako, a Komomata Curtain Call, a program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and or with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. The latest exhibit at the Huinoi'a Visual Arts Center is a retrospective of the art of Eddie Flotte, whose life has been a living, breathing example of the Maui miracle. Mr. Flotte was at a dead end in Pennsylvania, where he was born and raised. He always knew he was an artist, but he was unable to support himself in the commercial world. That is because he never belonged in it. This magnificent retrospective will take you on an overwhelming journey you will never forget. This is the proof. He has gathered his seminal works, and these priceless original works are here along with some prints and giclées. Most of the watercolors are not for sale, but there are a few you can have. He also has a beautiful book which he did with the assistance of our own Cynthia Conrad. Sandy Cotton's Labor of Love, Love Letters in Watercolor, which is available for purchase. The gallery looks like an enlargement of my apartment. Every square inch of wall space is covered with art. Be prepared to spend time with this show. It is like the book come alive. Mr. Flotte is as fine a writer as he is a painter. The book begins poetically, quote, "I sat for a decade, a day, and a week, painting the feelings my words couldn't speak. A porch, a path, a Sunday, a song, etched in my soul forever young. My mind like a picture-filled time frame, remembering all that my heart has seen. A day now, yesterday, gone in a blaze. These are the moments of those were the days." And that is the title of this retrospective. This exhibit is epic in every way possible, and the opening party kicked it off in style. Mr. Flotte, who is also a fine singer and musician, invited the A-team of musicians to play at the party. Jerry Karas, Jr., vocals and harmonica, Nils Axel Rosenblad, lead guitar, Steve Hodges, bass guitar, Randall Littleton, drums and background vocals, and Tim Garcia pulled out all the stops on the poo-poo as well. It was a great start for this show. I have said Mr. Flotte is a combination of Norman Rockwell and Andrew Wyeth, if he did watercolors. Ironically, I learned how apt that comparison was. Although he was born in 1956 in Ambler, Pennsylvania, the town where asbestos insulation was invented and manufactured, he spent his formative years in the country with his self-described, quote, Norman Rockwellian, unquote, grandparents in the country in Center Square. Although it was only 7 miles away, it was another world, a world that resonated with Mr. Flotte. This is a painting of his grandparents, Norma and Ed Sr. Can't you just see it on the cover of a Saturday Evening Post? This is a fly's eye view of his grandparents' kitchen. The first miracle happened when Mr. Flotte was tending bar. A patron encouraged him to enroll in art school. He learned everything he needed in 18 months and abruptly dropped out and went to seek his fortune in the commercial world. Here are some examples of his commercial work. He was not successful in this world. The next miracle happened when a friend, the singer Gay Marshall, redefined art as Mr. Flotte's work. He discovered plein air painting, and because he was able to transfer the sensitivity and emotions of his vision to paper very quickly, he found wherever he would paint, he would draw a passel of admirers. He enjoyed the attention, and of course, this led to sales as well as commissions. Despite the success, in the freezing cold winters, he was unable to paint plein air watercolors. He found he was in a struggle with himself. Where he was living in the South Street area of Philadelphia was the center of art, music, and never-ending Mardi Gras partying. It served as a self-destructive siren for Mr. Flotte. He knew he needed to get away. That was the big miracle, the Maui miracle. An acquaintance of his, John Travis, who owned a bar in Philadelphia where Mr. Flotte was given an exhibit and became a local celebrity, sold the bar and moved to Maui. Mr. Flotte set forth on this rebirth journey on March 4th, 1985. With $100 in his pocket and a one-way ticket, he landed on Maui. On the way from the airport, he saw Paia, and it resonated with him. After the rain stopped in Haiku, where he was staying, he returned to Paia and started to paint. Here are some of those works on display. A passerby saw the works and hired Mr. Flotte to paint a house as a gift for a friend on the Lahaina side for $75. This person, Janet, was a part owner of the Artisans of Hawaii Gallery in Lahaina. The day he delivered the painting, she was not there, but Sandy Cotton was. She was impressed with Mr. Flotte's work and asked if he had any others. He told her he did and showed them to her and told her he sold them for food or $20 or whatever he could get. She asked to take the work for the weekend and told him to come back on Monday. When he did, she was beaming, counting out $640 in cash and told him she sold everything, and that started a 34-year partnership that ended on Christmas 2018 with the death from cancer of Ms. Cotton. This exhibit is a celebration of that partnership and an exploration of Mr. Flotte's places. Besides Maui, his other muses are the Jersey Shore, where he vacationed with his family as a child and where his mother moved to, Chadʻs Ford, Pennsylvania, and Kuerner Farm, a place where Mr. Wyeth and Mr. Flotte have painted. He actually met Andrew Wyeth there at the diner, Hank's Place, at breakfast one morning and showed him his work, and Wyeth began to teach. Mr. Flotte says, quote, "I learned more in those 5 minutes than I can possibly explain. My work changed dramatically," unquote. The place on the Jersey Shore where he used to vacation, quote, "is now hard to find. Developers knocked down the quaint bungalows and old artisan-built Victorian hotels to prop up modern civic and plywood victrosities," unquote. But he found a place nearby, Oxford Shores, that captured his attention. Look at some of these pieces. His Aunt Phoebe Jacquette became another subject of Mr. Flotte. These works are haunting, and they almost have a life of their own. Finally, for the last 4 years, Mr. Flotte has been caring for his nonagenarian mother. If you are a Facebook friend of Mr. Flotte's, you have seen this work. He draws an ink sketch, and she colors it in with her bright magic markers. It is so interesting to see bright, vibrant colors applied to Mr. Flotte's usually subdued and muted watercolor palette. It will be worth taking note if this influences him in the future. This is not the usual retrospective, like the late Pierre Orestor's, where we saw his growth through several phases of development. Mr. Flotte would probably dispute this, but it's as if he arrived fully matured. The work he is doing today is the same work he has done since his 20s. There is little discernible difference. His ability is astounding, but more importantly, he transforms mundane, everyday sights into emotional, spiritual, and mysterious journeys. Artists see better than we do. They show us a world of beauty and feeling we are often too rushed in our own pursuit of subsistence and existence to take the time to appreciate. Do yourself a favor and take the time to fully embrace Eddie Flotte, a retrospective. These are the moments of those were the days. One of the interesting things Mr. Flotte has done is throughout the exhibit, there are many flashlights hanging on the walls. These are there for the viewer to more closely look at the work. The Huinoiao Visual Arts Center is located at 2841 Baldwin Avenue, Makawao. The exhibit is open 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday to Friday until May 12th. Do yourself, your family, and friends a favor and go with all of them to this remarkable experience. Talent is everywhere, but artistic sensitivity on this level is rare. Don't miss it, and be sure to budget the time needed to fully experience it. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Mahalo for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Ahui ho!